I'm Lindsey Samper, and today we're going to work on lengthening the hamstrings. They're a notoriously really tight muscle in most of our bodies. So just a quick anatomy lesson. Your hamstrings on the backs of your thighs, and they connect to the bony part of your butt. That's called an ischial tuberosity, a really fancy word. That's part of your pelvis. And then they also attach behind your knee. So when you have tight hamstrings, if you kind of imagine that muscle being really tight and pulling on those 2 points, it can create some knee instability. And it can also alter the positioning of your pelvis, which in turn can affect your lumbar spine. So a lot of people who have low back issues, herniations, bulging discs, also have really tight hamstrings. So keeping that in mind, the exercises, the stretches that I've chosen for today are going to be relatively safe for someone who does have some existing lumbar pain. Just know that when you're stretching through your hamstrings, you want to feel it in the belly of the muscle. You don't want to feel it behind your knee, and you don't want to feel it up towards that sit bone part. You might feel a stretch in your glutes, and that's normal, but if you feel it at those 2 points, behind the knee or towards the sit bone, you just want to make sure to back off a little bit. So we're going to begin by laying down on our back. So come down onto your back and keep your knees bent and draw your right knee in toward your body and give it a good squeeze. You can wrap your hands around your shin or maybe behind your knee, and then extend your right leg up towards the ceiling and wrap your hands somewhere behind the leg. So if you find that this is really difficult to do, you can always place some blankets underneath your hips, or you can strap a towel around your leg as well. So find a point right now that's a good amount of stretch for you. So you feel a good stretch, but you're not overstretching, you're not in any kind of pain. So find where that point is for you. Flex through your foot and really pull your right toes down towards your face and press your right heel up towards the ceiling. As best as you can, keep your right leg straight and squeeze your quads. So activate the tops of your thighs. That will allow your hamstrings to lengthen a little bit more. Flex through your feet, press your right heel up towards the ceiling, maybe spread your toes wide. Now, if you feel like this is enough for you, stay here. If you'd like a little bit more, then extend your left leg out along the floor as well. But keep that leg active, so both feet are flexed. Both feet are active. Good. Keep really activating the top of your right quad. Press your right heel up towards the ceiling. And then we're gonna move the leg, your right leg, out to the right side a little bit. So start to open your right leg out to the side. Keep your leg straight, and as much as you can, continue to pull your right leg up towards your face versus letting it fall down towards your feet. So keep lifting it up, keep it straight as much as you can. We'll stay here for just another second, and then slowly come back to center. Bend your knee and draw your right knee in toward your chest, squeeze it in tight, and then set your right foot down on the ground. Draw your left knee in, give it a good squeeze. So we'll do these exercises, we'll do these stretches again at the end, and you'll see a big difference between now and after we do some movements to help lengthen the hamstrings. So extend your left leg up towards the ceiling, grab anywhere behind your leg. And just know that if you've got really tight hamstrings, you can take your hands lower down on your thigh. That'll give you a little bit more ease. And if you're a little more flexible, you can take your hands up higher, maybe behind the knee or the calf or even further. Flex through your foot, press your heel up towards the ceiling, keep your toes really active. And just as a side note, don't get frustrated with yourself if you've got really tight hamstrings. It is what it is. Lots of people do. And it's one of those things that if you practice this on a daily basis, if you stretch them regularly, they will start to lengthen. It happens with time. So from here, we're gonna take the leg out to the left side, open it up to the side. Actually, let's come back to where we were. Extend your right leg out along the ground if you would like some extra stretch here. Keep both feet flexed, both feet active. Press your left heel up towards the ceiling. Find a nice amount of stretch to where you're giving some effort. It's not gonna be comfortable, but you're not in any kind of pain and you're not straining in any way. Now we'll take the left leg out to the side. Again, you don't have to go very far. It's just fine. And you may even like to just prop your leg in your left hand and use your hand as a kickstand. Keep your leg straight as much as you can. And again, notice if it's falling down towards your foot. Keep actively pulling your left leg up towards your face. Keep your leg straight. One more deep breath in, and then come all the way back. Bend your knee. Draw your knee in towards your body. Give it another good squeeze. Draw both knees in towards your body, and then we'll roll over to one side and make our way into hands and knees, tabletop position. So come onto your hands and knees, spread your fingers really wide, palms completely flat against the floor, and then tuck your toes, lift your knees, and come into plank pose, just a push-up position. Engage your core, press your heels away from you, squeeze the tops of your thighs, press the ground away from you, and step your feet about shoulders distance apart. Good, and then lift your hips up high, downward facing dog. Keep a soft bend in your knees. And if you've got really tight hamstrings, you can take your feet as wide as your mat if you'd like. Press your torso back toward your legs. Let your head and neck relax. And then on your inhale, shift forward, plank pose. Lower down to your knees. Lower all the way down to your belly, but keep your elbows close to your body. Inhale, lift up, cobra pose. Lift your chest, lift your shoulders, squeeze your elbows together. Exhale, forehead down. Inhale, press up into table. Tuck your toes, lift your hips. Downward facing dog once more, and we'll pedal the feet out here. So bend your right knee and press your left heel down towards the ground. Straighten through your left leg. Now your left heel may touch the floor and it may not, it's fine. Bend your left knee, press your right heel down towards the ground, stretch through your right leg, and then pedal the feet back and forth, bending one knee and then the other. You can go as fast or as slow as you'd like. And get even on both sides, and then we'll come down to our knees and take a moment in child's pose. So bring your big toes together, knees apart. Let your hips sink back, reach your arms forward, and lower your forehead down to the ground. Take a really full breath in, and on your exhale, just release. Let your shoulders go, let your arms rest against the floor. And continue doing that, taking nice deep inhales and using your exhales to relax, to release, to become heavy. Take 2 more breaths right where you are. And then on your next inhale, come back up onto all fours. Tuck your toes, find plank pose. And from here, downward dog. Send your hips up high. Now, if downward dog is enough for you and you're fine just hanging out here, stay here. If you'd like a little bit more, step your feet together and then lift your right leg up, 3-legged down dog. Now, I want you to really pay attention to your standing leg, your left leg. Actively press your left heel down and straighten your left leg as much as you can. This is a great opportunity to get into your hamstrings here. Exhale, right leg down. Second side, lift your left leg up. And again, actively press your right heel down into the ground. Stretch through your right leg, straighten your right leg. Continue pressing your torso back toward your thigh. And then exhale, left foot down. Good, bend your knees, walk your hands to the back of your mat, forward fold. Keep a soft bend in your knees, belly to your thighs. Release your head. Release your neck. And from your forward fold, take your hands to your hips, squeeze your elbows together, and with a flat back, come all the way up to standing. Find a wall somewhere in your house or maybe a chair. We're gonna do some hamstring stretches at the wall. They're gonna be really, really effective, and I prefer them a lot more than seated stretches. So you're gonna find a wall and stand with a really wide stance. So really, really wide. And you're gonna be a little bit more than arm's length apart. And this is all gonna depend on the proportions of your body, how tall you are, all of that. So you may have to adjust how far away you are from the wall. But take a really nice wide stance and then take a look at your feet. And you wanna make sure that your toes are kind of turned in, not turned out. So outer edges of your feet are gonna be parallel to the sides of your room. And then just a quick little demo here on what we're looking for. When we fold forward, we wanna keep the spine exactly the way it is when you're standing as when you're leaning over. A lot of times what happens is people just start to round, but you're not doing anything for your hamstrings here. You're just stressing your low back. So I want you to begin and place your hands on the wall and really focus on keeping your spine nice and tall, chest lifted, gaze forward, and then send your hips back and hinge from your hips. So you may not have to go very far before you start to feel a stretch in your hamstrings. And then just walk your hands down the wall. And again, keep your spine nice and straight, keep your chest lifted, keep your gaze at the wall. And just find your spot. Find a good spot where you're getting a nice amount of stretch, but you're not feeling anything behind the knees, you're not feeling anything in your sit bones. And press down through the outer edges of your feet. So really activate your feet. And then squeeze your quads. So squeeze the tops of your thighs. Again, these are opposite acting muscles, your quads and your hamstrings. So when you activate your quads, that allows your hamstrings to lengthen a little bit more. So keep that active. We're not locking out the knees, so there might be a slight bend in the knees. I may not even be able to see that bend, but just a tiny, tiny little bit. Keep pressing down through the outer edges of your feet. If you find that you can go a little bit further down, go a little bit further down. If you're at your edge, you're at your edge. If you can touch the floor while maintaining a straight spine, so see how flat my back is versus this. So it might help to have a partner look at you or look at yourself in a mirror and make sure you're doing this right. Good, take another deep breath in, and then you're gonna slowly walk your hands all the way up the wall. Hands to your hips, and then step your feet together. We're gonna do the same thing with the feet together. So having the legs out wide is a little bit more, it's a little easier on the hamstrings than having the feet together. So if you're really tight, you might wanna stay with that one. Otherwise, bring your feet together. Feet are touching, same distance apart from the wall. And we're gonna do the same thing. Hands to the wall, send your hips back, keep your spine straight as if you were standing straight. So hinge from your hips, start to walk your hands down the wall. Find that point where you're getting a good stretch. And again, activate your quads, squeeze, contract, activate the tops of your thighs. And then to get even more into your hamstrings, press your heels away from each other. So drag your heels apart. They're not actually gonna move. You're just creating that action within your body. So feet press away from one another. Tops of the thighs are squeezing. Back is straight, chest is lifted, gaze is forward. If you can go down a little bit further, then feel free to go down a little bit further. Keep the activation in your legs. Keep pressing your heels away from each other. And then slowly start to walk all the way back up. We're gonna do one more while we're at the wall. This is Parsvattanasana. Step your left foot forward, right foot back. So your feet are about 3 feet away from each other. And then square off your hips. So pull your left hip back, your right hip forward, so kind of swivel your hips so that your hip points, these bony parts of your hips, are facing the wall. And again, you may need to adjust your stance, but you're gonna lean forward, same thing as before. And as you start to walk your hands down the wall, same thing, hinge from your hips, keep your spine neutral. You'll feel the stretch in the back of your left thigh, and you should feel a nice calf stretch in your right leg. So just stay in a spot maybe for a few breaths. And then if you feel like you could go a little bit further, go just a little bit further. Stay there for a few breaths. And then you just continue on doing that. Once you find your edge though, once you find your stopping point, stay there. Continue to breathe. Make sure you're not clenching your jaw. So a lot of times we'll clench our jaw or tighten our face. So try to keep everything in your face relaxed. Keep your throat relaxed. Good, couple more breaths here. And then slowly start to walk your hands all the way back up. Step your right foot to meet the left, and then step your left foot back again about 3 feet or so. Hands to your hips. Pull your right hip back, left hip forward. So a lot of times what happens is the hips will turn to the side. We want them squared directly towards the wall so that we get a good stretch. And then we rinse and repeat. So same thing as before, hands to the wall. Walk the hands down, hinge from your hips. Keep your spine lifted tall, keep your chest lifted, gazing at the wall. When you start to look down, the spine tends to round. So keep looking up as you lean forward. And be sure not to lock out this knee. So it doesn't mean you have to bend it a lot. Bend it just enough to where you know it's bent, but someone else doesn't have to necessarily look and say, oh, her knee's bent. So start to walk your hands down, maybe a little bit more. Find a good spot, take a couple of breaths. And then maybe you find a little bit more space to go further, or maybe you're at your edge. So again, find that balance between effort and ease. It's gonna be uncomfortable because you're stretching a muscle that's tight, but shouldn't be painful, and there shouldn't be any kind of straining. Take 2 more breaths wherever you're at, and then we'll slowly, when you're ready, start to walk your hands back up. Step your left foot to meet the right. From here, come back to your mat, into the end of your mat. We'll start from where we left off. Hands to your heart center. Inhale, reach your arms up. Exhale, bend your knees, fold. And then walk your hands out into plank position. And then lower down to your knees. Come into a seated. We're gonna make our way back onto our back again. So swing your legs around, take your time, come back onto your back. And we're gonna do the same stretch that we did in the beginning, and you'll see a little bit of a difference, but we're gonna add something to it. So keep your knees bent, draw your right knee in, give it a good squeeze, and then extend your right leg up, interlace your hands somewhere behind your leg. And we're gonna do what's called PNF stretching, and it's gonna be a really quick way to get a little extra range of motion in your hamstrings. So go ahead and find a good stretching point, something that you feel a stretch, but it's not a lot of effort, it's not a lot of strain. And then with your hands interlaced or with a towel behind your leg, press your leg into your hands. So press your leg into your hands and then resist with your hands. So you're really creating some resistance here, and hold that for about 8 seconds. So keep pressing your right leg into your hands, keep resisting, and then release that, and you might be able to go a little bit further and bring your leg a little closer to you. Now we're gonna do that 2 more times. So again, press your leg into your hand, the hand presses back into your leg and resists. Hold that for a little bit longer. And then release, and again, maybe you get a little bit further. One last time. Press the leg into the hand, hand into the leg. And you may be at your edge already. You may be at your stopping point, so you might not be going further each time. That's fine. Release, and then again, maybe you can go a little bit further. Good, and then bend your knee. Draw your right knee in toward your chest. Squeeze it in tight, and then set your right foot down. Let's do the other side. Left knee pulls in. Squeeze it first, and then extend your left leg straight. Interlace your hands somewhere behind your leg. Find a good stretching point. So encourage your leg wherever you would like, bringing it a little bit closer towards your face. And then we'll begin our stretching. So press your left leg into your hand really strongly and resist with your hands. Hold. Keep your foot flexed. Toes pulling down toward your face. And then release, and maybe you get a little bit further. Do that again. Press your leg into your hands, hands into your leg, and hold. Hold, hold, hold. And then release that. Maybe you go a little bit further. And we'll do that one last time. So press your leg into your hands, hands into your leg. And then release. And maybe you stay where you are. Maybe you go a little further. Then bend your left leg, squeeze your thigh in towards your body. For our last pose, we'll come into Happy Baby. So there's lots of different ways to do Happy Baby. First, pull both knees in toward your chest, rock a little bit from side to side. To come into full Happy Baby, you can extend your legs up, and you'll bend your knees and open your thighs out. So thighs are coming to your outer ribs. And you can reach inside your knees and grab onto your outer feet. If that doesn't feel great, you can hold onto your shins, or you can just grab behind your knees. But the idea is to open up the hips so that thighs are coming to your outer ribs. And as you're doing this, try to notice if your tailbone is really lifted up high off the floor. If it is, press your feet into your hands, press your hands back into your feet, and then try to flatten your tailbone out along the floor. That'll come with time, so just know that. But that's what we're shooting for. Soften your face, soften your jaw, soften your gaze. We'll take 2 more breaths right here. And then slowly bring your knees back into your chest. Give them another good squeeze and rock a little bit from side to side. And when you're ready, roll all the way over to one side and come up to a seated. Well, I hope that you found a little more length than you did before with this hamstring routine. This is something that you can do maybe 3 times a week. Maybe start out slow in the beginning. You might be a little bit sore tomorrow, so just know that that's normal. And with time and with practice, your muscles will naturally lengthen. So just be patient. And if you'd like to know more about me, you can check out my website at lindseysamper.com. And for more videos like this, please subscribe to the Psyche Truth channel. Thank you for practicing with me. Namaste. You can find my full video library on Amazon, and it's free for Prime members. You can follow along with me from your TV, tablet, or the Amazon app on your phone. So you can join me for yoga class virtually anywhere.